Welcome to GearCheckGames. This is part 15 of our Metroid Prime commentary. Haven't we started the last two episodes like this?
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't this a theme?
Purple suit is what I wanted to say every time while you were doing the
Purple.
the intro.
Oh my god, it's so purple!
I can't get over how, ridiculously long the plasma beam makes her gun arm look.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it belongs on the suit.
Turns out they did put the long beam in this game.
In spirit, perhaps.
Yeah.
Anywho, last time we finished exploring the Chozo ruins and collected all of the pickups there, and I think we also finished off the Talon Overworld apart from the few story events left there that we have to trigger. So in this episode, we are going to backtrack yet again through the Magmor Caverns and continue exploring the Phazon Mines.
Before we get too far away from it, I like that you went into Morph Ball to try and slip under the flamethrower right as the other one activated again. You're just like, I'm just gonna go through it.
At a certain point, you just have to cut your losses, alright?
Well, with all but one E-tank acquired, these things are just an inconvenience to you now.
Oh yeah. You have all but the one after the boss of the Phazon Mines.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So talking about just face tanking stuff because it doesn't matter, I feel like during the collection quest is a good time to bring up this topic, which I don't know if we've talked about in another game, but just the value of difficulty in games, or I feel like there's kind of a notion among a lot of people that game difficulty is kind of like a separate entity from fun. Like it's just a thing to, if you're really into challenging yourself, or you gotta stroke your E-peen or whatever. But I think the one of the main things that difficulty has that it adds to a game is that it kind of makes you get the most out of the game's mechanics in order to just get through the game. And I feel like for games like Metroid and the Metroidvania, Castlevania type games really also benefit from having a harder difficulty, at least as an option, because as we've kind of seen, once you get past a certain point, if the difficulty isn't really that high, all these collectibles aren't really a reward
valuable
anymore. Yeah, they're purely just if you want to get 100%. Whereas I feel like with more difficult games, or if you were to play these games on a more difficult mode, getting each of these upgrades would have a lot more meaning, and it'd be a lot more exciting because they actually are still helping you in a noticeable way.
Yeah.
I haven't finished it all, but I've played through most of it. I feel like Hollow Knight really benefited from that. If you are into that kind of game that's just Hollow Knight, in my opinion, is basically Metroid mixed with Ikaruga. If that tells you anything about how difficult that game is. And it's also really, it's also kind of the Paper Mario of Metroidvanias in that all of the, collectibles and stats are in, really small numbers, but, it means something every time you get hit or every time you use up, a magic attack in that game. And so every time you do find something that makes you, a tiny bit better, it's oh, now I can fire one more projectile.
Yeah.
It just feels so monumental because, in a game that hard, it just feels like such a privilege to, oh, I can take one more hit, thank God.
Yeah, speaking of Paper Mario, especially in recent times, that's another game that people are really often the game doesn't need to be difficult, that's not the point of the game, it's supposed to be this, and that. But,
So-
I've actually somewhat recently seen people have made kind of hard mode mods of the original Paper Mario. I don't know if they've made some for Thousand Year Door, but seeing that game played on like with a really like raised difficulty, it's a whole different experience, and a ton of the mechanics that you don't really need to even mess with in a normal playthrough, like cooking and a lot of the different badges and stuff like that, are actually find like really a lot of use because you kind of need to use them.
Yeah, they like become integral mechanics just out of necessity.
So like just
I want
raising
to
the
add to
difficulty.
this conversation, but before we get too far away from it, the room that you were in a couple of rooms ago is actually one of my favorite rooms in the game. You're gonna come back to it at least once, but like not for much longer. But kind of that one where there's some catwalk's kind of on the left, but it's a very vertical room, and you kind of have to move through it methodically.
The quote unquote one-way elevator room. We can talk about that when we go back to it. But
yeah. So what I wanted to add to that conversation is like Hollow Knight also kind of has, and I will also loop this back to the kind of the hard mode that you were talking about. Hollow Knight also has like a similar badge system to Paper Mario, and it's one of those things.
Albeit a much more restrictive and stingy one.
Yes, by design, I would imagine.
In keeping with that game's just general like ethos.
But the reason that Hollow Knight feels so tight, and why difficulty in games matters, and like you said, I think that there needs to be easy options for people, but having the hard options is also really good, because not only does it make you interact with mechanics that you otherwise wouldn't necessarily have to, it also makes your interactions with those mechanics and like existing mechanics significantly more different. So like if you have a significantly harder game, like maybe you do need to try and rely on those moves that have like a 5% chance to just outright kill an enemy. Like those high risk, high reward moves. Yeah. So you start to interact with, other mechanics that existed in a far like deeper amount. So like I'm absolutely a fan of hard modes that are done correctly. I'd give that caveat because I don't particularly think that Metroid Prime's hard mode is done correctly. But yeah, Trey knows. Because it doesn't particularly like revolutionize any of the mechanics I'm interacting with. It just makes them more tedious.
Yeah, that's the other thing that is really important to keep in mind, which is that hard modes can be really beneficial and like make people get a lot more out of the game, but you also have to do them right, because I played way too many games where the quote-unquote hard mode just turns enemies into bullet sponges and gives you less health. And it doesn't change how you play the game, except it makes you spend, in the case of some of the games that I've played or some of the more recent
Metroid Prime.
bad offenders, and like Bioshock Infinite and stuff, where the only way it makes you change how you play is that you just waste more time like peeking cover and recharging your shield and
Have you guys ever played any of like the Platinum games or like Hideki Kamiya's games on the higher difficulties? Because on those they like I've never finished Bayonetta on anything but normal, but I did try out hard mode one time, and the enemy layouts are different. Like they don't just tweak like the damage output and the enemy health bars. It's like effectively different challenges that you have to overcome that are designed to be hard, not just like these normal challenges that are just have like inflated stats now.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of slowly working my way through Wonderful 101 on hard mode. And yeah, like that game, and I think all the other Kamiya games, or maybe even just like Platinum games, on the higher difficulties, it'll just completely change like enemy layouts, and like you'll fight late game enemies in the first level on hard mode.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. I was watching some old Super Bunny Hop videos of Metal Gear Rising.
Yeah.
And in that game's hard mode, they put like geckos in like the first stage.
Yeah.
And so I know that we talked about it previously, but Joe probably just got one of like the worst, just most useless power-ups.
I don't know what went so wrong here, but it just doesn't.
Like, I get why
good for nothing.
Yeah, I get why like they went with a flamethrower because like it's a really really good idea, but it's not quite. It didn't quite land. I think they should have made it like less of like, you know, the cinematic like World War II flamethrower that I know by saying this most people are probably envisioning, but like more of like a plasma torch where it basically just had like one continuous laser beam from the plasma beam.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, it just shoots like a big like firebomb out, and I know that's not really a flamethrower at that point, but it's just kind of like. You don't really feel compelled to use the flamethrower when you can vaporize most enemy with a charge shot from the regular plasma beam.
Yeah.
Like, why use the
Or
other?
like, it was a mining laser, right? So like, make the super move, the mining laser move.
Yeah. Well, that's what I kind of mean by like, because like that, you know, just one big strong laser that's just constantly firing. Like, it's thematic, it fits well, and it would be satisfying and useful.
Quick aside, make sure you scan this guy, because he is unique.
He is technically a mini-boss.
Uh-huh.
And not like the other Phazon pirates, which were just like a mini-boss that became a normal enemy. Like, this guy is a boss.
Yeah, I don't know if this guy has more health than the regular Phazon pirates, but he does, like, move faster, kind of making him seem more aggressive, so...
I can't remember the logbooks in this area specifically, but, obviously with their design, what they're trying to get at is showing, like, the Phazon is making him far more feral.
Yeah.
Which, you know, leads to an increased danger if you don't have, like, you know, nearly 255 missiles and almost all of your HP.
Either that or he got a little more pep in his step because they shoved an artifact in him.
Yeah. Plus that's also another one where it's just like, you could do this significantly earlier, but, you know, we're getting it on the go-around.
Uh-huh. Well, on most playthroughs of this game that I've done, I've actually gotten him later because I always wait to get the Chozo Artifacts until after I've completed, like, the main objectives in the Phazon Mines, which, I mean... I don't know, I feel like when you do... I enjoyed doing it this way more because you kind of get a break in between to go back and, like, it doesn't feel as backloaded if you do, like, a bunch of your, like, end-game exploration, like, in the middle of the Phazon Mines. Like, you know, I feel like we got enough of a gauntlet just, like, getting to the power bombs, so it's nice to just kind of be able to step back and, like, experience some easier gameplay before you come back in here for the final stretch of everything.
And that's fair. It's not quite how I played it, because I was always the type that, like, I tried to basically get, like whenever I got a power-up, I tried to then go and, like, find as many places to use it as I could.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, I would get power
really
bombs and then go open that guy up and be like, oh, mini-boss time, let's go.
Yeah.
It's like shoot every colored door, bomb every wall.
Yeah. So actually, it does look like you're coming back to the room and I'll point it out more in the things about I like it more whenever you actually get in there. We'll talk about the elevators. But before then, that reminded me, shooting every colored door, and I know we complained about it previously. I think Fusion, for all of its faults, had the best door system. That whenever you, like, unlock the next set of doors, which wasn't from, like, getting a new beam, unfortunately, it did break tradition there. Those doors were now just unlocked, as in, like, your beam would just open them.
Oh, yeah.
Needing
They were
to switch.
security doors.
Yeah. No need to, like, do anything else. It's just, okay, these doors are open now.
I don't know, man. Adam kept locking the doors, and, like, you couldn't go back sometimes.
That is true.
Although it did make thematic sense with the whole idea
totally
that you're,
did.
like, not in control here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. But
Yeah, Metroid Fusion's a great game. Not my favorite Metroid, but like I have a lot of respect for Fusion.
They tried. They tried something
I think they
new.
succeeded. Like they made the game they wanted to make. It's just it's just a different kind of Metroid game that's not gonna like play well to everybody.
I guess whenever I say
like Metroid Prime doesn't play well to everybody.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I mean whenever I say like they tried is they were trying something new, and like it might not have been the best direction for like a game, because it was a mainline Metroid game, because it was Metroid 4, but they were trying something new, and they gave it their best crack and shot, and it came out pretty good.
Yeah, I think if unless you're like a 2D Metroid fan who like just wants them to remake Super Metroid, like I feel like Fusion is like the ideal like sequel situation that you would you'd be asking for after like that long of a wait. Like how disappointing would it be? God, this is probably going to result in like a monkey's paw situation for Prime 4, but like how disappointing would it be if after waiting for like a decade for a sequel to your favorite game, it finally comes out and it's just like the same exact thing as last time?
I was gonna say, imagine being like a Metroid fan that just wants them to make the same game over and over again, and you just look at the Mario fans with jealousy. You guys don't know what you have.
Yeah, I feel like Fusion, again, I really respect that game for just like offering up a new take on, like, it wasn't worried about like, oh, we need to like recapture the old fans, but we also need to like make it accessible to, not to like throw new players under the bus, but like I kind of hate it when games are like compromised for that, like, they don't really appeal to anyone because they sacrifice like their original appeal to like broaden their audience. Yeah, like Fusion was just like, it was just a cool idea for a Metroid game.
Yeah.
And they just made it. Like, it's pretty hard to knock a game that comes from a place like that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like good in terms of like sci-fi too, because it's weird. It's a good, creepy, weird sci-fi game.
Man, I remember like almost all of the bosses from it because they were just so out there.
Like each boss and each encounter, like will make you feel things. Like there's no corner of that game that isn't like cool and interesting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, if you like Metroid Fusion, tune in next time, in which I will not be wearing the Fusion suit. I will, however, be leaving the Chozo Artifact hunt behind for a little bit and resuming my trek into the depths of the Phazon Mines. So, thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Boy.
See ya.